Welcome to the deep dive. You know, it's almost comical, isn't it, how much information just bombards us daily about what to eat.
Oh, absolutely.
One minute it's all about kale, the next it's, I don't know, ancient grains. Navigating it all feels like a full-time job.
It really can. And, in that whirlwind of trends, the really solid foundational advice, it sometimes gets a bit lost in the noise.
Exactly. So, in this deep dive, we're zeroing in on something that sounds simple, but is actually pretty crucial. A balanced diet. We've looked through the recommendations from the NHS and also Healthline to try and bring you a clear, sort of no-nonsense understanding of what eating well actually means.
Yeah.
Cutting through the confusion.
Yeah, distilling it down.
Our mission really is to distill the core principles into practical takeaways. Now, these guidelines are fantastic for the general population, but it is worth remembering.
Definitely.
If you have specific health needs, well, chatting with a healthcare professional is always going to be your best bet for tailored advice.
That personalization is just so key, isn't it? What fuels one person brilliantly might not be quite the right mix for someone else.
Right.
Especially if there are underlying health conditions or, specific dietary requirements involved.
Couldn't agree more. So whether you're already pretty health conscious or maybe just starting to think more about your food choices, we're aiming for some genuine aha moments today.
Hopefully.
Okay, let's unpack this then. When we talk about a balanced diet, what are the fundamental ideas? What do our sources say?
Well, the NHS gives us a really straightforward foundation. It's about eating a wide variety of foods, making sure they're in the right proportions, and crucially, consuming the right amount overall, to maintain a healthy weight.
Right, so it's that combination.
Yes, that combination that's important, yeah.
So it's not just about loading up on the good stuff, but also getting the quantities right. And Healthline echoes this, doesn't it? They emphasize that a balanced diet is what gives your body the necessary nutrients to function properly. They highlight things like fresh fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, lean proteins.
The primary sources, exactly. It really paints a picture of, wholesome, minimally processed foods. Yeah. And Healthline also brings in the concept of calories in a really useful way. They explain calories are essentially units of energy we get from food.
Energy, right.
And while they mention an average daily need, sort of around 2,000.
Right, everyone quotes.
Everyone quotes it. But they really underscore just how much this can vary depending on things like your age, your sex, how active you are.
Huge variations.
Huge. They even give some examples of typical calorie ranges for different groups, which really drives home that average is just, a rough guide.
It really does highlight that a one-size-fits-all approach just doesn't work, does it?
Not at all.
A super active construction worker in their 20s needs vastly different energy than someone, say, with a sedentary lifestyle in their 70s.
Exactly.
And Healthline also talks about empty calories. What exactly are those?
Yeah. Think of these as foods that are heavy on the calorie count, but really light on the nutritional value.
Okay.
So vitamins, minerals, fiber, they're largely missing. We're talking about things like cakes, cookies, highly processed meats, sugary drinks.
The usual suspects.
The usual suspects. Ice cream, chips, a lot of commercially prepared pizzas. They might give you a quick energy burst.
Sure.
But they don't contribute much to your overall health. And they can easily lead to eating too many calories without actually, nourishing your body.
Right.
It's like filling up your gas tank with fumes. You might get a flicker of movement, but you're not going to get very far.
That's a great analogy. It really clarifies the difference. So, okay, we have a picture of what a balanced diet is, but why is it so vital?
Well, the NHS puts it simply and powerfully. A balanced diet is a cornerstone of good health, and it helps you feel your absolute best.
Feel your best, yeah.
And Healthline expands on this, explaining that proper nutrition is fundamental for, fending off diseases, warding off infections, combating fatigue, and even boosting our performance in just everyday tasks. It's really about optimizing how our bodies function on every level.
It makes intuitive sense, doesn't it? If you're not giving your body the right fuel, the right components for repair and maintenance,
it's not going to run smoothly.
Exactly. It's just not going to run smoothly.
And Healthline specifically emphasizes how crucial a balanced diet is for children.
Oh, that's a big one.
Huge. It influences their growth, their cognitive development, even their academic performance. And it plays a significant role in preventing unhealthy habits and obesity later on. It's really about laying the groundwork for a healthy future.
It's almost sobering, isn't it? to consider the long-term implications of poor nutrition, especially for kids.
It really is.
And Healthline brings this into sharp focus with that statistic. Was it from the Center for Science and the Public Interest?
Yes, that's the one.
4 of the top 10 leading causes of death in the U.S. Heart disease, cancer, stroke, type 2 diabetes have direct links to our diets.
It's a profound connection.
Think about that. The food choices you make every single day, they have a comparable impact on your long-term health as some of the biggest public health concerns we face.
Absolutely.
That's not just about avoiding illness, it's about proactively building a healthier future with each meal.
It truly underscores the immense power of our daily food choices on, well, our overall well-being and longevity.
Okay, so we understand the goal, why it's so important. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. The key food groups, the nutrients that make up this balanced diet. Both the NHS and Healthline offer really helpful frameworks here.
They do.
Let's maybe start with the NHS and their Eat Well guide, so it's quite visual.
Yeah, the Eat Well guide is great. It neatly organizes our food into 5 main groups. First up, we have fruit and vegetables.
The big one.
The big one. The recommendation is these should make up just over a third of our daily intake. And the goal is to hit at least 5 portions a day.
5 portions. And that might sound like a lot, but the NHS breaks it down really helpfully, doesn't it?
Yeah, they do.
Right. 80 grams of fresh, canned, or frozen counts as 1 portion. It's about a handful.
Roughly.
But dried fruit is 30 grams, but they say have it with meals, for your teeth.
Good tip.
And a 150 milliliter glass of fruit juice counts as 1 portion, but limit that to just 1 a day because of the sugar.
Right, the free sugars.
Exactly. Even simple swaps like grabbing an apple instead of a biscuit, they can really add up. And the evidence linking 5 a day to lower risk of serious diseases is pretty compelling.
Absolutely. Okay, the second group is higher fiber starchy foods.
Carbs.
Carbs, yes, but the good kind. The NHS recommends basing your meals on these, really emphasizing whole grain varieties, brown rice, whole wheat pasta, wholemeal bread.
Skin on potatoes, too.
Skin or potatoes, exactly. For that extra boost of fiber and vitamins, these should also make up just over a third of what we eat, providing that sustained energy release.
Got it. Next up.
Next, we have dairy and dairy alternatives. The NHS highlights these as key sources of protein and calcium.
Important for bones.
Very. And they encourage choosing lower fat and lower sugar options whenever possible. They also include things like unsweetened, calcium-fortified alternatives like soya drinks, which is great for people who are vegan or lactose intolerant.
That's inclusive. Okay, what's group 4?
Group 4 encompasses beans, pulses, fish, eggs, meat, and other proteins.
The building blocks.
Absolutely essential for growth and repair. And they provide a whole array of vital vitamins and minerals. The NHS suggests opting for leaner cuts of meat, skinless poultry, cutting back on red and processed meats.
The sausages and bacon again?
Yeah, limiting those, and aiming for at least 2 portions of fish each week, making sure one of those is oily fish.
For the omega-3.
Exactly, for those important omega-3 essential fatty acids. Great for heart and brain health. They also rightly point out the nutritional benefits of pulses and unsalted nuts.
Good fats and nuts, too. And the final group.
Rounding out the Eat Well guide is the group of unsaturated oils and spreads.
Fats, okay.
They make it clear that some fat in our diet is necessary, but we should aim to get most of it from these healthier, unsaturated sources.
Like olive oil.
Olive oil, rapeseed oil, things like that. Switching to these can actually help lower cholesterol levels, but of course they remind us all fats are energy dense, so moderation is key.
Use them sparingly. Okay, now how does Healthline approach this? Is it similar?
It's similar, but they tend to categorize things maybe more broadly in terms of the key nutrients we need.
Oh.
So they emphasize the importance of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, then carbohydrates, including starches and fiber, protein, and healthy fats.
So nutrient categories rather than just food groups. But in terms of food groups, Healthline usually lists fruits, vegetables, grains, dairy, protein foods.
Yeah, which lines up really nicely with the NHS Eat Well guide, actually. They give examples of protein sources like meat, eggs, fish, beans, nuts, legumes.
It's a lot of overlap.
A lot of overlap. And it's really interesting to see the consensus when it comes to foods we should perhaps be more mindful of.
Who wants to limit?
Exactly. The NHS advises limiting foods and drinks high in fat, salt, and sugar. Healthline offers a slightly more detailed list. Highly processed foods, refined grains, added sugar and salt, red and processed meat, alcohol, and trans fats.
So again, significant overlap, reinforcing that core message.
Yeah.
Prioritize whole, unprocessed foods.
That's the key message coming through from both, yeah.
It really drives home the point, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Focusing on whole, unprocessed foods should be the bedrock of our diets. So, okay, this all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually translate this into our daily lives? How do we get that balance on our plates day in, day out?
Well, the NHS, as we mentioned, stresses limiting those high-fat, high-salt, high-sugar items, and Healthline introduces a really practical visual aid, the plate method.
Ah, yes, I've heard of that. It's about visualizing your plate at mealtimes, right?
Precisely. The recommendation is to aim for about half your plate to be filled with a colorful variety of fruits and vegetables.
Half the plate, wow.
Yeah. Then just over a quarter with grains, ideally whole grains for that extra fiber, and just under a quarter with protein-rich foods.
Okay.
They also suggest including a serving of dairy or a non-dairy alternative on the side. It's a wonderfully simple yet effective way to think about portion control and balance.
That is simple, easy to remember.
And they also highlight that the USDA provides a personalized tool, My Plate Plan, where you can get more tailored recommendations based on your specific needs, activity levels.
Oh, that sounds like a fantastic resource for anyone wanting a more individualized approach.
Definitely useful.
And both the NHS and Healthline are really clear that even within these food groups, variety is key. You can't just eat broccoli all day.
Right. And expect to get the full spectrum of nutrients from the vegetable category.
Exactly.
Eating a wide array of fruits and vegetables, different types of whole grains, diverse protein sources. It just ensures you're getting a much broader range of vitamins, minerals, and other beneficial compounds that each food offers.
Makes sense.
Healthline even touches on the point that local and seasonal produce can be particularly advantageous
Why is that?
because it tends to be fresher and may actually have a higher nutrient content. Less travel time from farm to table likely means less nutrient degradation.
That certainly rings true. Now, there are a few specific points that both sources touch on that are worth maybe highlighting a bit more. Let's talk about fruit and the sugar in fruit.
Yes, Healthline tackles this head on. They emphasize that while fruits do contain natural sugars, they also come packed with fiber and a whole host of other essential nutrients.
So it's different from sweets.
Very different from processed sweets, which are often just concentrated sources of those empty calories we talked about. The fiber in fruit is crucial. It slows down the absorption of that natural sugar, preventing those rapid spikes in blood sugar.
Good point. And what about those dark leafy greens? Everyone raves about them.
And rightly so. Healthline champions these as true nutritional powerhouses, packed with an impressive array of vitamins and minerals.
Like spinach, kale.
Spinach, kale, green beans, broccoli, collard greens, Swiss chard. Regularly incorporating these into your diet is one of the most effective ways to boost your overall nutrient intake. They're like a super concentrated dose of goodness.
Can't argue with that. And the distinction between whole grains and refined grains, that's another really important one, isn't it?
Absolutely crucial. Healthline underscores the superior nutritional value of whole grains because they contain the entire grain kernel, the bran, the germ, the endosperm,
The whole package.
a whole package, which means they're significantly richer in fiber, vitamins, and minerals compared to refined grains, where the bran and germ have been stripped away.
Like white bread, white rice.
Exactly. Choosing wholemeal bread over white or brown rice over white rice can make a real difference to your nutrient intake and how your body processes those carbs.
And when we think about protein, it's not all created equal either, is it?
That's correct. Healthline draws a clear distinction between healthier animal protein options, lean meats, poultry without the skin, fish, and processed meats like sausages and bacon.
Which they advise limiting.
Right, due to potential links to negative health outcomes. They also highlight the significant value of plant-based protein sources.
Like nuts, beans.
Nuts, beans, soy.
Yeah.
They're not only good sources of protein, but also come with added benefits like fiber and other helpful nutrients.
And for those of us opting for dairy alternatives like almond milk or soy milk, worth checking the labels.
Definitely. Healthline reminds us to be aware of added sugars in some of these products. It's best to choose unsweetened varieties that are also fortified with calcium so you're still getting that important nutrient.
Good tip. Finally, the topic of fats. This could be a bit of a minefield for people. What's the current thinking?
Yeah, it can be confusing. Healthline offers a really helpful way to think about it, using a kind of love, limit, lose approach.
Okay, I like that. Love, limit, lose.
So they suggest we should love the unsaturated fats, the ones found in vegetable oils, oily fish, avocados, nuts.
The good fats.
The good fats. Then limit our intake of saturated fats, those in butter, cheese, fatty cuts of meat, to around 10% or less of our daily calories.
Oh, limit those.
And lose trans fats altogether. They offer no health benefits and are often found lurking in processed and pre-made foods. Check the labels for partially hydrogenated oils.
Avoid those completely.
Yes. The overarching message is really to prioritize those heart-healthy, unsaturated fats.
That love, limit, lose analogy is incredibly clear and easy to remember. Okay, so to wrap things up then, what's the core message we should take away from this deep dive into balanced eating, drawing on the wisdom of both the NHS and Healthline?
I think the central message really boils down to variety, proportion, and making a conscious effort to prioritize nutrient-dense whole foods. It means filling our plates with a wide array of fruits and vegetables, choosing whole grains over refined ones, incorporating lean sources of protein and those healthy fats,
Right.
while also being mindful of and significantly limiting our consumption of processed foods, saturated fats, added sugars, and excessive salt.
And it's so important to reiterate, isn't it? As both sources emphasize, these are general guidelines. They're intended for the majority of the population.
Exactly.
Individual nutritional needs can differ quite a bit based on age, activity level, health conditions, other personal circumstances.
Loads of factors.
So if you do have specific health concerns or dietary requirements, the smartest move is always consult your doctor or, perhaps even better, a registered dietitian.
Absolutely. For that personalized advice tailored to your unique situation, they can provide really invaluable guidance in adapting these general principles to you individually.
Making sure you're meeting all your nutritional requirements in a way that best supports your personal health goals.
Spot on.
So as you navigate your day, maybe make those food choices. Take a moment to consider this. How might making just small, consistent shifts towards a more balanced way of eating, informed by the principles we explored today, how might that collectively lead to really significant positive impacts on your health and overall well-being in the long run? It's definitely something worth chewing on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.